This is an interview of Sumesh Lekhi, wildlife photographer, cinematographer, and filmmaker. This interview is taken to know the making of the wetlands miracles in Mumbai documentary. Now,
Yeah.
first question, sir.
Right.
What inspired you to make such a documentary? You are always in Tadoba, Kana, these jungles. What brought you here in Mumbai, wetlands in Mumbai?
It's a good question. I am from Mumbai itself.
Oh,
And yeah. So uh, initially, it has started as more of a conservation movement in Mumbai itself.
mm,
Yeah. Whereby, because we have access to the wetland atlas, we have the CRZ maps and things like that. We started. I'm actually also a chartered accountant and lawyer, just to
yes.
add. Yeah. Yeah. So we actually started the journey more as, in a legal way to protect the environment, to protect the mangroves, the wetlands of Mumbai. So
Okay.
that's how the journey started. And as it is my habit of, I'm also a filmmaker. I was initially not really shooting wetlands and miracles in Mumbai, as in to
Okay.
make a film out of it, more as a record for the kind
Okay.
of work we are doing. Because as part of the legal process,
Hmm.
when we present, see, not necessarily all the wetlands in Mumbai are protected
Hmm.
as per the law, as we call it. Okay, it is in a map, it
Yes.
is protected.
Yes.
But what gives them protection is the species which are in it. Yeah.
Yes.
So we use the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Environment Protection Act 86. We used all these laws in a
Hmm.
sense saying that if these species are here, it is their habitat, and this is
Hmm.
how we protect it. And then, fortunately, I stay in Lokhandwala. So it's actually a concrete jungle. It's fabulous. It's got skyscrapers and all that. And
Hmm.
just across the road, you have the most mind-blowing biodiversity, wetlands,
Yes.
mangroves. So that mix, when I saw it, was quite intriguing. And then you have Sanjay Gandhi National Park. You have leopards coming into
Yes.
Borivali and things like that. So that was the inspiration, the flux which made that happen.
When it actually started, when this actually idea started taking shape in your mind, what was that time? What was that moment?
That moment was, uh, see, because of the work we do, we have
Yes.
access.
Hmm.
Let's say because of the conservation activism we do, we've, you
Hmm.
know, gone into different wetlands in Mumbai. Like,
Hmm.
for example, Lokhandwala, then we have Bhandu pumping station, you have
Yes.
the Thane Creek, you have even the different areas we've gone into. And we've
Hmm.
also worked very closely with the forest department.
Hmm.
Let's say, even as a lawyer, I've worked very closely with the forest
Yes.
department. Yeah, so that we could utilize the current legal acts and the statutes which we have to protect the environment. So
Hmm.
that's how the process started. So in a sense, let's say I was comfortable in the wilderness space in Bombay,
Uh-huh.
and the authorities and the political parties, let's be very clear, also knew that there is this gentleman, who is, fighting for the environment along with his
Hmm.
associates. So this is happening. So there was a trust factor. Even
Okay.
the press was involved. So we kind of created, let's say, citizens of action, who are taking charge for the environment. So that's the initial part of how this started.
Hmm.
Then, because I was working for the environment, we were making small clips for students. So
Okay.
I've almost gone across to about 3 to 4 thousand students I have met across my filmmaking journey, where we've showcased our film, the first film of Basking of the Giants made in
Yes.
Kaziranga. So
Okay.
we realized that this medium is perfect to enlighten the next generation. So
Yes.
I realized that a lot of kids in Mumbai were not really exposed to what they have in their own
Yes.
backyards. They were going for photography, as you said, to Kana, Tadoba.
Yes.
So that movement also started simultaneously. Lokhandwala Lake was a great wetscape, as you call, for
Yes.
photography to start. Citizens came from all walks of life. Birders came. Politicians came as birders also. That also experience I've had. So then they
Okay.
all had a stake in the environment. So that was the starting point. And when we signed up, when we started making a second film called Emerald Forest and Panna Tiger Reserve,
Hmm.
at that time we realized that at the same time as the team was working on Panna, we would
Hmm.
utilize the same resources to even create the documentary of Mumbai, because that was very close to me. I mean, I
Okay.
would every third morning I would be off with my team, creating hides and shooting the, yeah. wildlife of Mumbai. Let's put it that way.
Now that you are talking about resources that you are using for this film,
Right.
what techniques or equipments did you use to capture, especially this delicate? It's a delicate area. No? It's not like Tadoba or going into a jungle of Kana,
Right.
where
Right.
your characters, they will not fly off suddenly. I'm talking about leopards and tigers here,
Right.
or
Right.
maybe elephants. In
Mm-hmm.
wetlands, it might be slightly difficult, right? Or
Very
might
difficult.
become different, very different from what we do in other parts of the jungle, other jungles.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
what difference did you make in the use of equipments or filming or capturing the videos?
Yeah. See, as you rightly said, the first is that we don't in no sudden movements.
Yes.
Birds are very alert
Yes.
compared to even mammals. So, and also in all our films, if you look at it, our films are very holistic, from
Hmm.
Bastion of the Giants to Emerald Forest, where we add elements of flora, fauna, avian species.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had I had the knack of filming birds from
Hmm.
our first film, Bastion of the Giants, where we were shooting grey lag geese
Hmm.
or even bar-headed geese coming from Mongolia to
Okay.
get close to them and to shoot them without them being alerted and moving away from the camera. That
Absolutely.
itself is an art. Yeah. So starting from there in Mumbai, especially what we did, I'll give you a example. Like I've got some very close shots of flamingos in the film if you see them. They're
Yes.
waddling
Yes.
their feet and things like that.
Yes.
So for that we literally crawled. I crawled like let's say like an army man or something through the
Okay.
wilderness so I could get as close to them as possible.
In
And
those muddy waters, you just
I've done it all. I've been covered with mosquitoes. I've been covered with ticks, with flea. But at that point, the focus is just just get close to them without disturbing them. They should not realize your presence. Yeah. So we crawled our way through, and ultimately, initially I would put up my tripod in such a way that my head would not be above the tripod. Yeah. So
okay.
we would use like maybe like a remote display where we were shooting that. That was the initially what we did.
Yes.
And then once we got the close shots, then I wanted more of the wide angles. Yeah.
Hmm.
But for that also, because the bird should not be alert. So we
Hmm.
use hides.
Hmm.
We created hides. We went to, I think, MG Market in Bombay.
Hmm.
We got
Hmm.
those camouflage cloth. We made the whole thing. Yeah, I've got a good associate. His name is Papu Bhai. So he
Hmm.
also was with me. He's also so we created those hides and we filmed. And the birds were quite comfortable. They didn't realize like
That's
even
what was my next question. Were they comfortable having you around? Because see,
yeah.
one of your interviews you had mentioned that these tigress, they leave their cubs next to jeeps because they get habituated with human beings. What about these birds? Were they comfortable, or
Uh,
they became comfortable later on, slightly at least?
yeah, see, with certain like spot-billed ducks
Huh.
tended to get more comfortable because I've got some good close-ups of them in the film.
Yes.
Because see, we have fought very hard to protect Lokhandwala Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, where we've actually taken what do you call poke lanes as you call in Hindi, JCBs into the and we've got the desilting done along with the forest department and things like we've protected their habitat. So in that
Hmm.
whole process, we also in a sense maintained the natural vegetation around the lake.
Hmm.
Like even when there were certain groups who told us, "Ki, can we clear the trees around the lake and
Yes.
things like that?" Because
Ah,
that is the standard thinking. Ki, yaar,
yeah,
तालाब
standard
होना चाहिए,
process.
concrete hona chahiye. I said, no, we need the habitats. We need them to come and take shelter. Some birds come and even they lay the eggs in the vegetation there. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we wanted that gave us a natural hiding area also. So we would brave, like in fact, just next to the Lokhandwala Lake, for example, there is a BMC dumping ground. So we would also take access through the garbage from that
Hmm.
area. So and to go there and understand that how it was such a miracle to actually see that you have
Yes.
concrete on one side, you have a dump yard on the other side, in the middle you have this pristine lake. So then we would go from certain areas, brave everything else on the way, all any kind of, and then we would go and get those locations. We would shoot from there.
There are some drone shots, aerial views also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they were captured during the movie, or you had already captured them before and just to create some videos, you already had it with you.
Yeah, we already had those shots. We'd
Yes.
also worked with the department. We had certain shots. Plus, we also connected with because in the activism there is a lot of people involved.
Yes.
A lot of other enthusiasts. And the best part is most of the people in the activism with us are all architects, doctors,
Hmm.
surgeons, all basically enthusiasts who are doing it out of their heart. So very often, like at least for the drone, we had couple of shots. Mainly what we have done is we have got couple of shots which have, in a sense, been throughout the movie. We have
Overview of the
of
wetlands in
the
Mumbai.
area. Yeah, wetlands. Yeah, yeah. So even if they shot it from their building, for example, Bombay
Yes.
have high rises, you have high rise. So even
Yes.
if you don't even use a drone, you like I've got a lot of if you see my YouTube videos even earlier, we have
Hmm.
shot it from high rise building terraces
Hmm.
as like a rooftop kind of work, and then we have shown it like it's a drone. From there, we have shot it in such a way, use the panning
Okay.
effect
Okay, sir.
and things like that. And because we've got very high resolution cameras,
Hmm.
broadcast cameras, yeah,
Hmm.
we can get the effect from there. Yeah.
There were some pictures from archives, like how wetlands looked like before the reclamation happened. So, did you take pictures from some files already existing with the forest department, or maybe in some archive?
Yeah, we did take some of those archive shots. We did from the past. And secondly, then we also have to use current cinematic shots as a reference and then give them the archival effect.
Yes,
And yeah, like for example,
that's what I wanted to know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like for example, the tiger walking, if you noticed in the
Yes,
beginning,
yes,
there are tigers in Bombay
yes.
actually going between the
Malabar
islands.
Hills ka, at that
Yeah.
shot I remember.
That shot. So we actually used a tiger shot and we have given it that little weathered look to
Hmm.
create, because
Yes,
filmmaking is a visual medium.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So we've done that.
See, this is a very typical question, but still,
Hmm.
I was very intrigued by it. You also had mentioned in one of your interviews that your characters don't take directions from you, right? And
Hmm.
there is no action replay. And
Right,
it is so true in case of birds, basically. They will just go away. So
right.
I really want to know what was the difference? What adjustments you did apart from setting up close-up cameras or crawling or asking people to keep quiet? But in the movie, there are so many and almost all, I would say, brilliant shots.
Right, right.
So, did you have those shots already in your mind, or it was just spontaneous? You took a camera and those shots were shot.
See, yeah, that's a good question. As a filmmaker, a lot of these shots are, in a sense, a lot already in the mind. The general what you want to
Yes.
shoot is
Hmm.
already in the mind.
Hmm.
And it's been my experience, especially with tigers, because you can't will a kind of you can't will it. कि मुझे ऐसा
Yes.
frame चाहिए. You can't will it. But I have seen with my experience that sometimes when you visualize something, when you have
Hmm.
something in your mind,
Hmm.
it tends to play out in the forest. Like
Okay.
sometimes, yeah, yeah. And then see when you're like when I'm working with a project,
Huh.
whether it's a sixth sense or what, for those let's say 30 days, even I can give you an example of tigers.
Hmm.
Literally, even when you are resting,
Hmm.
the movement of the tigers playing out. Maybe it's a subconscious which is working on it. कि कल हमने इधर देखा. So
That's a
what do
good
you?
point.
Yeah, like even this tigress P151.
Huh.
She like tigresses generally get pregnant in 36 months, 38 months, you know.
Hmm.
But in her case, it was just that the way her movement was, the way a bold tigress had changed the
Hmm.
movement from somebody who you knew her pattern, was
Hmm.
suddenly changing the pattern of movement, coming out slyly, coming out after dusk,
Hmm.
or moving out pre-dawn before we came in. You realize that something had changed in her life cycle, in her routine. So that somewhere in her subconscious it plays out. That visual is there, if she's coming out from there. And then I remember alerting the forest department, I think she has given birth to cubs. And then they actually went the next day and they discovered that she had given birth. So I think you're right. There is some kind of visualization is already there, the kind of shots we want. And fortunately, I guess there is a connect where wildlife also plays out along with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Because being with them for so many years, probably you get those intuitions as well. There is a connect with the nature, right?
Yeah, there's a intuition. That's the right word, intuition. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I had one more question.
yeah. Sure.
I was thinking of it a lot, that how did you manage this thing?
Hmm.
How did you manage this balance? Because there is a pinpoint accuracy, scientific accuracy in your documentary about the migratory patterns of the birds,
Right,
their
right.
mating or food habits, even their biology. Do you collaborate with ornithologists or maybe naturalists, especially for wetlands miracles in Mumbai?
Okay. I'll actually, if I can give you an example relating to it to a tiger project again,
Hmm.
to make. So, for example, a 52-minute film typically has about 4,000 words in it. Yeah,
Hmm.
typically.
Hmm.
But my one tiger project I'm working on, my
Hmm.
script already has 100,000 words in it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that means that a lot. Let's say even if 20,000 words is of the film,
Hmm.
80,000 of it is just my research into their behavior,
Hmm.
into what the migratory pattern is of a
Hmm.
bird. For example, a tiger, what is the movement? So for
Hmm.
wetland, we did a very similar thing. Like what are
Okay.
the flyways involved? How the
Hmm.
birds come from Mongolia? They come from Australia. What are the different flyways?
Yes.
So that's
Ah.
all my interest. Also, as a lawyer, I tend to dig really deep. That's how we've been able to fight our environmental cases, CRs and all that.
Hmm.
It's purely interest. Why does a bird do that? Why do these birds flock together?
Yes.
What are the, like, even when we did the desilting of Lokhandwala Lake,
Hmm.
typically some one month somebody says कि अगर machine आ रहा है, let's go 10 feet deep, you
Hmm.
know. But seeing their behavior, I realize that the ducks sometimes they just dive in and their legs are up. They're just basically foraging something they can reach just about one
Hmm.
feet below. So certain areas of the lake we kept it at 1 feet deep only, which are prone to dry in the dry season, but that's the natural cycle of all water bodies. So all this
Yes.
research I had done a lot, even for the environmental work which we did, to present to the High Court, to get cases in our favor, to present to the Forest Department,
Okay.
things like that. So it was a very holistic way of looking at it. You
Hmm.
know, what is their behavior, what kind of habitat they require,
Hmm.
and what kind of food they eat. So a
Hmm.
lot of research. Now, for example, also as a filmmaker, there's a
Yes.
lot of anticipation involved. When you take a shot, for example, let's say, like which even I used to guide new birders. They would
Hmm.
always say, "How do you get shots of a bird flapping his wings?"
Hmm.
Then I
Hmm.
would tell them that they basically have a duck back, as you call, a waterproofing on their. Yeah. So the moment you see a duck going into
Hmm.
the water a
Hmm.
few times, the next thing you know, it's going to come up and spread its wings to throw all the water off. So that was my observation, because sitting, sometimes we have just sat for 1 hour without the camera, at different water bodies. Just,
Hmm.
just I mean, it makes, see, that moment is something which is the ultimate moment. Just sitting by a water body, I think that also came into the film, just sitting by the water body and just watching what's happening there. You maybe a snake coming through, the different
Hmm.
different aspects of that. So the accuracy came from observation, a lot of research papers, um, where you go, you get certain aspect from it. You like noted professors like yourself doing research, putting the information out there. Yeah, that also is a part of it. So it's all around. Basically, ultimately, what happens, because if you're showcasing a film which even young generation is going to watch, you need to
Hmm.
be accurate. So that was one aspect of it. Then because I'm uh, I'm anyway a cinematographer. So when
Hmm.
you're shooting any particular shot, any case you're trying to make it as cinematic and artistic as possible. So that was the whole lookout. Yeah.
Now that we are talking about these shots, one particular shot in your movie
Yeah.
where the flamingo is walking on the water, then he gets speed, and then he starts to fly.
Wow. Yeah.
So what was already in your mind? You had pictured it.
No, I had not pictured that. That is something which, again, by the
You
time,
compared it with a aeroplane and the runway. It
yeah,
was a very beautiful comparison, and I could see the way the tail and the other beak everything. I could actually see it as a play. So it happened on
It,
the spot, spontaneously,
it
right?
happens spontaneous. Initially, I didn't have the broadcast cameras. I did
Okay.
this we shot in Thane Creek. I
Hmm.
just went for let's say a boat ride. In the
Hmm.
forest department, had told me we've just created this new flamingo sanctuary.
Hmm.
Mr. Vasudevan was the
Yes.
head of the mangrove cell. Amazing gentleman. Now he's retired.
Hmm.
He also went on to become the PCCF at Nagpur.
Hmm.
Yeah, for the FDCA. So we worked very closely. So then he had said, why don't you just check out, what we have created there. So
Hmm.
initial couple of trips was that, just observing the flamingos. I was fascinated the way such big birds with such long legs could take off directly from the water. Like that was something which is intriguing. Then I got the high speed cameras which can let you shoot in slow motion. Yeah. So I said, Ki, then I saw the timing because even birds have a timing. They are at certain during the tide they are in the creek,
Hmm.
and then when the tide becomes very high, when they cannot paddle their feet, they go into the
Hmm.
inland areas. So you know okay, this is the time when the water is coming up, the birds will start flying off. Not, yeah. So that is the time you go, okay, half an hour before you can set up your equipment, the boat and everything, and then you're ready. They'll all start taking off. A lot of opportunities will come, and then we were ready for that shot.
That was really a majestic, very beautiful shot. The
Thank
way
you.
flamingo took a flight. One more thing I want to know from you. You are a cinematographer. You can use sound effects and other techniques. But
Hmm.
I observed one thing. I don't know whether it is and correct or not. Um, in your documentary, there is a soundscape. There is
Okay.
twittering, bird calls, and it's natural. I didn't feel that there was any editing behind the scenes.
Right. Right.
Whatever was the natural, it was recorded as it is and presented.
Right.
Why did you do that? With so many techniques, you didn't try to remove anything from what you had shot.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was going on in your mind?
See, the as a cinematic experience, I mean, today when you watch reels, for example,
Hmm.
very often a simple reel becomes amazing because of the audio sound. So
Yes.
sound is a very important aspect in filmmaking as such. But when we are shooting, you see, we are in the
Hmm.
jungle, and my camera can literally go into a flamingo's feet as paddling the water. The camera can go there, yeah, because it's a zoom camera, so I can,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
cannot take a mic there. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So what happens is that as much as possible, we want to complement the reach of the visual by the reach of the audio. Yeah. So we take opportunities like we used to go to Bhandup pumping station early in the morning when the traffic has not still started. So
Hmm.
we could capture those sounds. It's quite very quiet of different birds, spot-billed ducks. Flamingos generally are not, but like when they're flying, those flapping sounds and all that. Yeah. For that, we went to the Nerul area
Huh.
where they're much closer and they're more comfortable to people. So when they were flying around, so there you could record that sound. And plus, because the flamingo areas between seawoods and the mangroves, it is
Hmm.
still little cut off from the traffic sounds. So we recorded that there. Yeah. So different birds, we recorded the sounds. We brought them to the studio. And my wife, Rashmi Lekhi,
Hmm.
she's a very good sound designer. Let's put it that way. She looks into designing sounds for the films. Plus, we have something called Foley
Hmm.
sound,
Hmm.
which we also need to create, which is
Okay.
something we create. So let's
Hmm.
say a bird is flapping his wings and flying.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
sound we have to create. Like let's say we take two leather gloves
Hmm. Hmm.
or
Hmm.
anything, and then we wave it in the air.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that is the sound we put in. Or one of
Okay.
my assistants, yeah, there's a shot in Bastion of Giants where uh, uh, an eagle is scratching its head.
Huh.
There, my assistant scratched his hand and recorded it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's called Foley because that's how you can get those Foley sounds in to make it realistic. And tigers, let's say a tiger walking on grass, the rustling sound. So that
Hmm.
we have to actually walk on grass ourselves and we have to create it. A tiger's breathing sound, very often, whatever we can get naturally, we can. But we
Hmm.
have to create a Foley sound where one of my assistants has that throaty breathing, like
Okay.
where I'm doing it right now. So it is matched with the audio there. Yeah. So let's say 90% of the sound design is from what we film. We got
Hmm.
the most advanced sound recorders. Like in
Hmm.
Kaziranga, we were almost 12. kilometers inside the jungle, but still we could hear the highway trucks.
Mm.
That mic can pick it up. Yeah.
Okay.
So we bring it into the studio and then we isolate those sounds out.
Okay.
Yeah. And invariably, when you're shooting on a Jeep, for example, those various movement, cut, people are moving around, that sound comes, that is cleaned up. So the cleaning itself, let's say in a 52-minute project for audio, the cleaning itself is a 15-day process where the sound is completely. But over a period of time, now we have something called the sound bank. The amount
Okay.
of films we have, alarm calls, we have like birds, we have different birds. Yeah. And also a lot of credit to there are certain people who have dedicated their lives to recording bird calls.
Hmm.
There are birders who take shots. There are people who only record bird calls. So we
Hmm.
requested them, if let's say a particular bird is there, which we want, like hornbills, we got their sounds, for example, but we
Hmm.
requested them, can we have? Then they would, and they are very happy because everybody is here for conservation, protect the species, and then we give them credit in our films. If you see our films, also, you will
Yes.
see the credit given
Yes.
to all. Yeah, there are certain names are there, like Antero is there, Das is there, who are
Yes.
specialist recorders. Yeah, so then we
Okay.
give them, yeah, the credit. Like in in our Tadoba film, Mr. Kunal Patel is there. He's very
Okay.
into recording bird sounds. Yeah, so
Okay.
he's shared sounds with us. So we have utilized it in like cubs calling out to their mother. We have used a few of his sounds there, and 90% comes from our own sound banks. Yeah, mm,
It was beautifully done.
yeah.
I,
Thank you
I
so much.
was, it is all I never thought that there was any addition from outside. It is beautifully done. One more question, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Along with this message, now that you are talking about conservation activities, that we need to preserve wetlands, that was your
Mm.
message also.
Right,
So,
right.
but are you trying to tell a story here that shows the value and the dignity of birds, the way they are shot? Are you trying to tell us different story also? Look at these birds, look at their personality, look at their subjectivity. Generally, when we talk about animals or in general public I'm referring to, we don't consider these animals as persons or as
Mm.
beings. But in your documentary, they have a personality. You have actually shown the difference between two birds also, their migratory patterns, their eating habits. So are you trying to tell a different story from a bird's point of view, apart from a message that we need to conserve these wetlands?
Yeah, I think you've in a way got me there. I mean, that is the main thing is I have always maintained, even among my circle of conservation friends, environmentalists, I've
Hmm.
always said the environment doesn't have a voice
Yes,
in modern, like we just before this we discussed the topic about sounds and voice. It
yes,
has a voice, but not in the modern context where humans have decided what is voice. We have news media, we have different channels. I think there are certain individuals, certain organizations which decide that this is the voice, this should be told, and this should not be told. So my approach has always been the environment does not have a voice in modern terms, and we have to be the voice. So also it surprised me during my environmental journey when I met people and they said कि यार ये समझ में नहीं आता ये birds का क्या शौक है लोगों के लिए, ये टाइगर
yes,
का क्या शौक है,
yes,
मतलब
yes.
लोग फोटो लेते क्या करते फोटो के साथ.
Huh.
Then I realized, there is a big gap between what
Yes.
is really out in the world and people are not able to touch and feel that. So through our films, if we can bring that across, where people can touch and literally through our films, the visual appeal, the sound appeal, okay, listen, this is their world, and they have equal rights to remain on this planet like how we have. So that has been and a very important thing of making our films is that we want to make the locals a stakeholder.
Hmm.
It's not कि कोई लोग जाते हैं, कोई लोग लड़ते हैं. Who are these people? Who go and fight? There are some people. So my approach and which we managed as a group is
Hmm.
that people have come down from the buildings. And today it's
Yes,
a people's movement.
yes.
I am no longer, I don't really need to be involved in a day to day. I know it's a people's movement. People can reach out to me, ask me
Hmm.
legal points and things, but it is their movement. So that was very important. Like even when we shot our film in Panna,
Hmm. Hmm.
we realized that before the tigers could come to Panna,
Hmm.
the forest department had worked very hard along with NGOs. You
Hmm.
had Mr. Murthy was there. He's Mr. Rangaya Murthy, who was there as the field director then. There are
mm,
foundations, there's Last Wilderness Foundations, who have worked even before the tigers came to sensitize the people around, to make them understand it's not like wo baag hai, wo hum hai. So that is again an approach they've taken. And through our films, we try to create a record. Like if you see wetlands, record में क्या
mm.
है लोखंडवाला में लेक में ये भी birds है, अच्छा थाने creek में ये भी birds है, and the government then has to protect it because अभी
Yeah.
वो record में आ गया. Film making is a very good tool to create a record.
Yes.
But we do it in such a way that we don't want to be holier than thou. नहीं, ये नहीं कि we are some, we are like very, and no, it's like we are doing it together. There has
Mm,
to be nobody should be antagonized. We work together. Like a lot of activists have asked, how is it possible that so many people join in the effort? I said
mm.
because it is everybody's effort. It's
Yes.
just when it clicks. I'm a chartered accountant lawyer. I've got a close surgeon friend who's taken up the time. And even I have heard politicians, I have got in closed doors saying कि यार जो ये कर रहे हैं काश ये हमको करना चाहिए था. I've heard people coming and telling me later कि ये हमने कल
Lovely.
रात को
Very
सुना
good.
था ये चीज. So when that happens, certain part of the consciousness gets awakened. So they take a back seat. Even the best bureaucrats we've met, I'll tell you one thing, a lot of the work you see in Bombay today, what we have been able to do is because the bureaucrats have made it happen for the environment. कि नहीं, अरे ये आपका काम नहीं हमारा काम है, हमको करने दो. But this is we don't see that aspect. Even the desilting of Lokhandwala Lake, it was after all a politician who initiated it. Like we've got team members, I would like Ashish Mehta is there, he's an architect, Dr.
Mm,
Chandrakant Jain, a lot of people in Bombay. Stalin is there, Vanashakti, a lot of people who are fighting. Mr. Nand Kumar Pawar is there, Nandubai, we call him. He's fighting for so many years at Bhandup and all those areas.
mm,
Clara Korea, she's also a professor. She's a great birder. She's also done a lot of work. A lot of
mm.
Avinash Bhagat, they're all there. They're all there. They're doing a lot of work. Rohit Joshi. Yeah. So the thing is, when it becomes a collective consciousness, then the whole society rises up to realize that this is by apna hai. This is the voice, this that voice we have to tell everybody. So I think that's the voice aspect of it.
Okay, so when you are creating this personality and trying to give voice to those who can't speak for themselves, did you face any challenges?
Oh, yeah, we did face a lot of challenges. But let me say the challenges were overcome or dealt with during the lawyer and activism phase. Yeah, so I
Actually, I
mean,
think that was quite a beneficial thing for you. It was a plus
yeah,
point in your case that you know laws and acts.
very true. Very well said. Yeah,
So,
so even today also, in fact, I guide filmmakers if they call me. Yeah, because the thing is, our forests should be accessible to all in whatever form they want, as long as they're not harming the. Yeah,
yes,
we can't have any kind of lines drawn, which I see a lot happening in Bombay also. कि नहीं आ
mm,
सकते हो इधर entry. Birders are stopped from taking
yes,
records. So we've gone through it. I mean, only once it has happened that the police have taken me away for my safety and
mm,
told me later on, but it didn't stop us. The next day we were back, and the police also realized that they are incorrigible. There have been times when somebody told me, "Sir, आपके लिए builder ने चार Rottweiler रखा हुआ है." Rottweiler,
okay,
because we enter because see the thing is any forest is accessible to all.
yeah,
We've gone through the whole process where even ultimately the people who um, are shown in bad light are actually messiahs behind the scene. That's my experience. Yeah, politicians also, at least in areas they know कि भाई इधर कुछ नहीं हो सकता है.
mm,
When that is established, like I didn't mention Harish Pandey. For example, he's worked in Dahisar. So he also established कि भाई इधर कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. The citizens are awakened. Yeah. So there are examples like that. So
mm,
those challenges we faced during the initial, but once we are kind of in the domain of protection,
mm,
then we know exactly. So the filming was just part of the at least for wetlands, it was part of the work which we do. That is a conservation work which we do, and B, as you said, it then they took part.
very good.
Like politicians took part. Like they used to come. I have taken politicians for birding trips. Same people wearing white clothes are wearing kids and wearing track pants and t-shirt. to understand. So I think that those challenges, yeah. So
Were
that kind of
dealt with
yeah,
nicely,
yeah,
properly. Okay.
yeah.
Apart from those types of challenges, were there any surprising moments while filming Wetlands Miracles in Mumbai that you went with an idea that I filmed this bird and something else you filmed?
Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Did you
Some
hear my question? Should I
something we
repeat?
got.
Yes.
Yeah. See, for example, even while filming birds, you
Hmm.
say, okay, I will go from this side to shoot a particular species
Hmm.
because they're shy, they hang around there. But
Yes.
what happens is when for example, Garganes came into
Hmm.
Bombay. So
Hmm.
that was a surprise. I suddenly, this is a different species out there. We've come to shoot these kind of, and then we shot them. So those kind of surprises. Or then when we went crawling towards the flamingos,
Hmm.
and then you lift up your camera and suddenly you realize ki you're right just 10 feet from them and they've not realized you've reached there. They're so comfortable with the movement you made that they're not aware. So when you put the camera up, you're right looking at their face. So that's again a surprising element. And then you're going to Bhandu, a golden jackal comes across. You're shooting, birds, things like that. Small elements. Now we are working on a second project which I call Wetlands 2, for example.
That's what my question was. I had written, can we
Yeah.
expect a sequel for it?
Yeah, where we've, in a sense, gone underwater, to capture, different. I mean, in local, let me make it very simple: starfish, octopus, things like in Bombay, not too
So the
deep in the
focus
sea.
will be on fish in your next this thing.
Yeah, and on more birds, migratory birds, more birds, lots of birds, and on the mud flats, those
Yes.
mud flats are there. Those focus is there, and we have mud skippers, different kind of species we are looking at. Yeah, and octopus on the when you go to rocks
Hmm.
off Mumbai, the coastline. Haji Ali, now a lot of that has come under the coastal road, Bandra, things like that. You will see a lot of life there itself that
Yes.
we've been able to film. Yeah, so we've filmed, and the script and the film is also, for all purposes, ready. We are just kind of, let's say, finishing a couple of other films right now on tigers. That is taking us, time with it because the whole process, like our tiger project, has it's been 7 years in making now. Yeah, which I told you. So that we are kind of ultimately we have got the behavior which we wanted, the interpersonal relationships between tigers. So
Hmm.
that we are kind of finishing that series. Let's simply put, I love wildlife and nature. So
Hmm.
in the middle, I'll go shoot hornbills. I will go to Bombay to Haji Ali. If I'm going to Bombay for work, I will always take my camera. I will sit down. I'll go to Seawoods for a while.
Hmm.
So in that process, you start picking up different seasonal behavior, and you pick up shots which you never thought, which you can't pick up if you go specifically मुझे यही सीजन में जाके मुझे यही टाइम पे जाके 10 दिन में शूट करने का है. And because in a sense we self fund a lot of our projects, so it gives us that time. It's
Hmm.
not like 3 months you have to shoot and finish a project.
Hmm.
जो मिला. So you take your time with each species, as you said in the beginning, each character you're working with, you understand that character's personality. That's what, yeah, that's how we work on it.
How much time did you take for this whole shoot of Wetlands Miracles in Mumbai?
Wetlands has
Days.
taken
Huh.
about, I would say, about 3.5 years.
My goodness.
Yeah. 3.5 years to get the kind of shots I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, to get the different species, and the blessing was after the areas got more protection,
Hmm. Hmm.
whether Lokhandwala or Bhandup, a lot of more species started coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, so that became very interesting, very intriguing. I just could not stop filming. So even if I wrote my script for my other films, early mornings and evenings were for the birds. We would always come. That was my chill out. When you're writing a lot, you need to chill out. So that was my chill out, to come and spend time with the birds.
Very good.
And also that's a great way of catching up with your conservation friends because they all have busy lives. As I said, doctors and architects. So you would go, you would chill. You would look at the lake. Like they would have a different perspective. They were not maybe species specific, but they
Hmm.
would discuss other thing. And I would discuss, about the species. Like look at this. So So that was how it took about 3.5 years to get what I wanted to present. Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It
Thank you
is
so much.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worth the efforts of 3.5 years. Now,
Mm.
coming to the end of our interview session,
Right.
I'm going to ask you one question which struck me when I watched this documentary for the third time because I'm analyzing it.
Mm.
The conservation part, or basically this pollution, water pollution, or plastic dumping, or this sewage dumping in the lakes or creeks,
Yeah.
that comes almost after 60 or 70 part of the documentary is already done. We have
Right.
watched.
Right.
By then, the documentary has painted a very beautiful picture, more like a
Mm.
painting. The narration sounds like a poetry. So, did you do it intentionally? First, catch your audience, then give them the message. Now they are listening to you, so now the message comes.
Yeah. That was. That's the way I write my films. Yeah. Like even if I can give you a analogy of Bastion of the Giants. Like first we filmed the elephant conflict in
Hmm.
northeast India, where the elephants come, and then we realized ki this is not the impression. People generally tend to take back what they're familiar with.
Hmm.
I'll give you, I know you asked me about wetlands, but for example, Are Hati, Hati aata hai, khet, it destroys our fields, and so it is the elephant's fault. Yeah, so tiger comes, it is aggressive, it attacks. It's a tiger's fault. Like we saw the case of Avni, for example. So my approach is, कि यार, that is also a life form. It is as much, it's as people don't think. I remember hearing in Bombay many occasions that animals don't have feelings, animals don't have thoughts. So then you say ki boss, ye dekho, this is so you present that. You present the feeling, you present the behavior, you
Yes.
present the interaction. First you tell them ki listen, what for example, people have a routine in Bombay, ki they'll go to office, on the way to office, they'll probably, go to one's restaurant and eat idli first. They have a routine. Sham
Yes.
ko aayenge, they'll as they call tiffin khayenge, chai payenge. Colleges also we all do it. So to
Yes.
tell them ki tigers also have the routine. Even birds have a routine. Like even tigers have a routine. Like I always say when someone joins me, they are learning my systems. I said, जैसे हम लोग का routine होता है, tiger
Hmm.
भी आएगा, ये पेट, it'll mark this particular tree, and it'll go to that particular tree. It has a like we can almost, if a tiger has not made a kill on the way, if let's say it's a male tiger, simple
Hmm.
example, or the tiger has not met a female on the way, by clockwork you know next morning where you will get that male tiger. So they are also creatures of routine you can call, which like
Hmm.
humans, they are disciplined. And each tiger, like we have covered in our each tiger has a different personality. In our new films, we've covered it. So coming to birds, even flamingos, they also have a timing. They also go with the ebb and flow of the tide. So then, as you said, the audience realizes ki they are drawn in at a subconscious level because we tend to reject negative news because each newspaper you open negative. Arey yaar, ye to roz ka hai.
Yes.
So if you're going to watch a documentary which starts with that, arey yaar, it's standard. And also, my films. See, India is a country with almost 18 to 19% of the world population today, and we are crammed into 3% of the space,
Yeah.
and still we have so much wildlife.
Yes.
So India has very beautiful conservation stories. So it's always it's easier to paint um, the efforts in a negative light. कि ये हो रहा है, hunting हो रहा है. But we want to show the positives. Like Panna, we have shown कि this is a model which Mr. Murthy and his team, the whole world can follow. And it has become a reference point. And Bombay, कि if you have such a sprawling city,
Hmm.
you can have wetlands. Like when I went, even Chennai, for example, has lost a large part of its wetlands due to the airport coming up and it's been drained out. So flamingos are like restricted. When I went to Chennai also for a very dear friend's events and to spend time, so I made it a point to go through the whole wetlands over there.
Hmm.
So you realize that Bombay has something and has to be preserved. And I must say, after our film came out, a lot of interest has been garnered. A lot of citizens have come down and they know कि अरे यार इधर भी lake है, इधर भी lake है. अच्छा, we also have right in Lokhandwala. नहीं तो क्या, what is the normal? I remember a dear friend telling me once, yeah, you know something, many years back, you know, we should
Mm.
destroy all the mangrove. I said, क्यों? मच्छर आते हैं वहां से. See, that is the thinking.
Yes.
अरे वो खाड़ी है, गंदा है.
Mm.
And I would tell them, I said, मच्छर आते हैं. I said, you know, वो सब brackish water है. Mangroves need brackish, that kind of. They don't really breed there.
Mm.
You need to know these things. So we, through our films, we have कि even mangroves में species होते हैं. ये नहीं कि वो तीवरा का झाड़ which we see, you know, different species. Yeah, so things like that. Yeah.
So that's for that only you created these word personalities like human beings, husband and wife are fighting, or a mother is taking her ducklings out. You are
Yeah,
successfully created actually that
yeah,
they
yeah,
are
yeah,
the picture that they are just like us. Now, the last question.
yeah.
Sumesh, if unlimited resources are available to you, everything is in support of you.
Hmm.
Now also many things are. What would be your dream project?
As I have your last, your middle line was that everything is already in, the resources already there. I think we are already working on our dream projects. Let's put it that way. Definitely, we're working on our dream project. So actually, honestly, mm, I'm already working on it.
That's why
If I have to think so much, I already have the
wait for
resources.
its release and wait for the news of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
The
Thank you
universe has been
so much.
kind.
It
Yeah.
was very nice talking to you.
Hmm.
And it is my first counter, as I said, with a cinematographer or the wildlife
Okay.
photographer, and it
Hmm.
was beautiful to pip into your mind and what goes in there. And really, thank you from
Thank you so
inside
much.
all citizens what you are doing for us, because there is a need to create this awareness. We as researchers now, paper publishing and all, but the reach that cinema or other media or advertising has, nothing can match it. Thank you so much for doing it for us.
No, it's my pleasure, and I'm happy with the work you all are doing. You all are putting out papers, researching, and you're educating the next generation. That's so important. Just this morning, I received a note from a very dear friend who had come to Panna with me, and how
Okay.
his child had written down, you know, in a Hindi
Yeah.
about the experience in Panna, and where she called me dost. Like, so it's so important that we reach across different, and she's, I think, hardly about 13 years old. So
Mm.
for us to reach across different generations and to tell them they have this is what we have currently is not ours, it is what we're holding for them. Yeah. So I'm glad you all are, you know, also in the education profession and PhDs. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'll
Yeah.
stop
Pleasure.
recording now.